All right, this morning, international nuclear watchdogs say it is too soon to know the extent of the damage inflicted on Iranian nuclear facilities by the U.S. strikes. The White House, though, is claiming they were, quote, totally obliterated. This is what the press secretary Caroline Leavitt just said.
We are confident, yes, that Iran's nuclear sites were completely and totally obliterated, as the president said in his address to the nation on Saturday night. And we have a high degree of confidence that where those strikes took place is where Iran's enriched uranium was stored. The president wouldn't have launched the strikes if we weren't confident in that.
With us now, CNN political commentator Paul Begala and Republican strategist Melik Abdul. Malik, let me just first ask you, because there seems to be this discrepancy. J.D. Vance, the vice president, says no regime change, and we're going to try to find out where that enriched uranium is. Today, the White House press secretary says, well, you know, the president did suggest maybe regime change, but he was just asking questions, and we did destroy the enriched uranium. Why the discrepancy there?
Well, I think this is probably Caroline Leavitt trying to catch up probably with Donald Trump at this point. As you said, and it was a great introduction here, we don't know the extent of the actual damage, but Donald Trump has already articulated that it was the biggest, it was the boldest. This is what Donald Trump does, and I guess from Caroline Leavitt's perspective, she's just probably trying to toe that line, but we really don't know the extent of the damage at this point. But the fact that J.D. Vance is saying something maybe a little different, I think probably the truth is closer to what J.D. Vance is saying as opposed to a total obliteration, because again, we don't know.
And I will say, we also heard from the chair of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane, who was really clinical in how he laid out the assessment there and said, we're just going to have to wait and see, Paul, what the damage is there. He was giving all the information. I want to shift gears to the politics of all this, because Democrats are saying Congress should have been consulted. Congress should have voted here. And Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York said even more than that. She said the president's disastrous decision to bomb Iran without authorization is a grave violation of the Constitution and congressional war powers. He has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare us for generations. It is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment.
Well, I know we got a heat wave on, but I think Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez a little over her water ski tips here, okay? Come on. Politically, so constitutionally, I think it is the right thing to do to go to Congress, because Congress is supposed to be declaring war. Set that aside. Politically, it would have been really brilliant for Trump to come to Congress, because then if you want them on the landing, you got to have them on the takeoff. You know, but now this is his deal. This is, remember Colin Powell's Pottery Barn rule? You bomb it, you own it. So he owns every aspect of this, and nobody wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. But nobody's sure that he has stopped them from doing that anyway. Now, Dmitry Medvedev, the former Russian president, is saying, well, other countries, meaning Russia, could give Iran, just give them a nuclear warhead. Now, that may be baloney, too. But he's going to own all of this. He's going to own the homeland security of this, which he has diverted resources away from counterterrorism, away from intelligence, away from homeland security, all toward deportation. ProPublica did a story about some guy running one of the most important counterterrorism operations, 22-year-old kid, straight out of the grocery store and mowing lawns. He fired a guy who had 20 years experience in the Army and counterterrorism. So we are really vulnerable. We're vulnerable because of Mr. Trump, and he owns this entirely because he didn't get Congress on board with him.
What if it works?
God bless him. Then that's great. Nobody wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Nobody. I mean, nobody. But he needs to make the case that it was the last option, the only option, and that it worked, and that he has now postured us to defend ourselves. And I know he has not done that. You know, he is running around deporting people at Home Depot instead of engaging in counterterrorism on the homeland.
You know, Paul brings up an interesting point here, which a lot of people writing the last few days have said, which is that President Trump never even really tried to make the case to the American people that this is a threat, that Iran is a threat now, that these nuclear facilities are a threat today. There is imminence, which does carry legal weight to the nuclear threat there. It's a departure from what we heard, certainly a departure from what we heard in 2002 from the George W. Bush administration when trying to justify the invasion of Iraq, but it was a little bit different. He's just saying, I decided we needed to do it, but he didn't quite explain the why behind it. What do you think of that?
I think that there's valid criticism to be made about Donald Trump not doing the traditional Oval Office address when we're getting ready to engage in some type of military conflict. But let's be clear here. What Donald Trump did, at least as far as what it seems to be at this point, it did damage Iran's nuclear capabilities. And at the end of the day, the majority of the American people, and as you were just saying, people support the notion of Iran not being able to have nuclear weapons. And that is what Donald Trump was focused on. So I don't think that it is even, even though you can criticize Donald Trump for not coming before the American people, as you have pointed out, the American people is on board with the idea that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. And if you look at some of the polls, even some of the polling suggesting that a majority or maybe a plurality of Americans believe that even attacking Iran was appropriate here. So yes, there's a way that you can go about the scalpel versus the sledgehammer approach, but what Donald Trump did here, and even keeping it under wraps for as long as he did, we have to talk about the military operation and the yeoman's work that many people in the intelligence community did to make sure not only that we carried out the operation successfully, but we got our boys back without being touched. That's an important thing.
Paul, just very quickly, two things can be true. Number one, the law can be pretty clear about when the president can use military action and when Congress needs to approve, but also that presidents for decades have ignored it and it largely goes unresponded to at this point. What about the politics of Democrats pushing for it? Is there anything to gain for them at this point by yelling and screaming, hey, you should have contacted us, hey, we need to vote on this?
Well, yeah, they're sending a signal. They're going to win the House, okay? Mark it. It's 500 and some odd days away, but Trump is handing the House to the Democrats. And they're going to stand up and say, this is what we need in this country. We need checks and balances. This man is unchecked and unbalanced. I don't know if you saw this morning, but apparently Donald Rumsfeld hacked his Twitter account from the grave. Because now he's talking about regime change. And I think Melik makes a good point. It starts, okay, nobody wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And then he's musing about killing the Ayatollah. Now he's talking about regime change. Pretty soon it's going to be invade, conquer, and occupy a nation building. And, shock and awe can turn into an awful quagmire very quickly. And that's what American people don't want.
Paul McGowan, Melik Abdul, thank you both very, very much.